Hello, internets! Ever wondered what things would look like in a different time period? Well, do I have the time machine for you. Let's see what the video game industry has to offer in the future. Would you look at how far we've come? Art as a medium is constantly evolving, and because of that it can be difficult to return to older things. To remedy this, a lot of media is updated for modern audiences and increased profit. Mostly that last part. Now, video games are a different story. Not only have they evolved even faster than other mediums, but they're made with specific hardware in mind, so it gets harder to experience certain games as time progresses. A common solution is to remake games for new platforms, giving them enhanced visuals, extra content, and a whole new audience who gets to experience them for the first time. And this has been happening for longer than you might think. One of the first examples of this sort of thing was Super Mario All-Stars back on the SNES. It was a pretty sweet deal with the first 3 NES Mario games in glorious 16-bit, as well as the original sequel that finally left Japan. Oh no, it's breached containment. There were quite a few 16-bit collections of NES titles around this time, such as Tetris and Dr. Mario, Mega Man The Wily Wars, and Ninja Gaiden Trilogy, which I had to squint at to tell the difference. We got a couple more of these afterwards, but they began to dwindle later in the 90s. This was around the time that 3D was the hot new thing, so older 2D games were sort of left behind. I mean, Resident Evil was originally meant to be a remake of Sweet Home on the Famicom, Excitebike 64 had a 3D version of the original track. Look, when I have to bring up Virtual Hide-Lide, you know it's bad. But when we entered the new millennium, there was a little thing called nostalgia going around, and the piece of plastic that took advantage of this the most was the Game Boy Advance. We've got the Super Mario Advance series of 4 Mario remakes with some bonus content, the GBA version of A Link to the Past with an extra 4-player game, and a full remake of Metroid known as Zero Mission. Nowadays, there are more game remakes than ever before, and I think that's a good thing. As much as I care about early games, it's clear that many of them are hard to get into for other people. With remakes, lots of other good games can be more accessible and recognized for their quality. But what would happen if you tried to do the opposite? Well, let's find out. Surprisingly enough, you can make this work. Something that isn't talked about quite as often is the Demake, which is a version of a game made for earlier and/or less powerful hardware. Although there are plenty of examples. Take the Atari 2600 for example. People have managed to put games like Halo, Mario, and Sonic on this wooden toolbox, although they're very simplified. When we jump to the 3rd generation of consoles, things begin to get a bit more believable. With Sega, the Master System lasted a lot longer in other territories, so games like Sonic 1 and Street Fighter 2 were reworked for it. Now with the NES, there isn't much in terms of official demakes, although we did get Mighty Final Fight from Capcom. It's really cool to see a game like this so perfectly tailored for the NES from this era. Of course, portable versions of console games are almost always more simplified in comparison to the console versions, but my favorite example is this unreleased demake of Resident Evil on the GBC. A demake of a remake, we've come full circle. Alright, I think it's a good time to return to the present. It's a good thing I just stayed in one spot. Who knows what kind of paradoxes I could have run into. Time travel is confusing.